by 2050, if we're able to eliminate some of the systemic barriers to having a more equitable and inclusive economy, it would add $8 trillion to our economy. And for an economy that's, $22 trillion right now, that is real dollars. That's not chump change.
That voice is Don Graves, Deputy Secretary of Commerce for the United States of America. Don talks about how each of us can make America a better place to live by improving the way we work together. His interview coming up on the podcast, Manufacturing an American Century.
Welcome, Americans. You're listening to the podcast, Manufacturing an American Century, with your host, Matt Bogoshian.
Hi, Don. It's great to reconnect on the podcast. Thanks for being on. How are you?
Matt, it is so good to be with you. Good to be able to talk with you about all these great issues again.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you on because of your long history strengthening American manufacturing and the ecosystem of support it needs to thrive. And as we all know, it's complex work, and we know there are important parts of the economy, a lot of different important parts of the economy, but people, hear over and over again about the importance of manufacturing to the American project. Why is American manufacturing critical, a cornerstone of the American economy, Don?
Well, let me just start by saying I am so honored that I get to be the guest for your inaugural Manufacturing America Century podcast. Congratulations on the launch. Congratulations for all of the work that you and the team are doing. It is absolutely essential to, I think, to the American economy, this long-term success of the American economy, especially in this century. And frankly, manufacturing is a critical sector for the long-term strength of the economy, for our national security. I think manufacturing is going to allow us to make significant headway on supporting the environment, on innovating, and frankly, it's the place where we're developing meaningful careers that support families, that will allow us to build the latest technology. And as the president often says, where is it written that the United States of America can't be the manufacturing capital of the world?
And that's what the evidence shows, is that for America to thrive in the 21st century, we're going to have to be making things in key industries, from defense, energy, transportation, agriculture, IT, health. These critical industries, the evidence shows that that's where we are going to thrive in the 21st century if we really make things that matter there. Now, we have been developing in recent years, a more, kind of industrial policy, so the free market, we want that to thrive, but it needs to be nurtured in places where there are gaps. Tell us about some of the recent federal interventions aimed at helping regions across the country strengthen manufacturing and the ecosystems that support it.
Well, you're not going to find an administration that is more focused on sort of rebuilding our manufacturing leadership and doing it in a way that strengthens communities, because our view, I know this is the president's view, is that if you have a healthy manufacturing ecosystem, you also will have strong communities and vice versa. So it's why we've taken steps and why the president championed big legislative efforts like the American Rescue Plan, like the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, like the CHIPS and Science Act, and more recently, the Inflation Reduction Act. All of those individual pieces of legislation and the trillions of dollars that are flowing from them are meant to drive this recapture of the competitiveness of manufacturing, but doing it in a way that supports communities, that lifts up the ecosystems, and really the things that we're doing here are meant to sort of underscore that work. We're focused on a number of different specific programs here at Commerce. The Economic Development Administration received $3 billion out of the American Rescue Plan. And we were able to create programs like the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, which has stoked regional collaboration. It's advancing public-private partnerships that are building off of regional assets that will help to grow manufacturing and other critical economic sectors, but doing so in a way that isn't meant to create race-to-the-bottom approaches like we've seen in other efforts around the country. This is not about having governors or mayors competing against one another per se. It's about finding ways to lift up communities all across the country, help them be more competitive, and help to rebuild their manufacturing. It's like the Good Jobs Challenge, for instance, another part of that American Rescue Plan, making once-in-a-generation investments in high-quality, community-led workforce systems. And we think it's going to have a transformative effect on communities to make sure that we have the workforce of the future and that we're providing our hardworking Americans with the type of pathways so that they have those family-sustaining jobs. And then also focusing on equity, because we know that equity is absolutely crucial to ensuring that every American has the opportunity to reach their full potential and to secure those good-paying jobs in this skilled workforce that we're building. So we're going to do that through the EDA, through those programs. We're also doing it with the CHIPS Act, and it's going to catalyze long-term growth in the semiconductor industry, but that will support a range of manufacturing sectors as well, in addition to building strong communities. So we're really focused on lifting up these industries and also putting us in a position where we can be economically secure and also protect our national security interests.
Within each of these regions, we need to tap into all of the talent that is there. So you talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Can you underscore the importance of that in terms of getting the talent to do this good hard work in the decades to come?
Well, look, this is not about social engineering or feel good. Making us feel good to do this work. This is critically important for the economic success and, as I said, the national security success and security of this country. Equity is absolutely vital to everything that we do because we know that for decades and decades and decades, we've not had an economy that has worked for everyone. And that's meant that millions of people across this country have been left on the sidelines. We can't be in a place where we are leaving essentially trillions of dollars out of our economy. There was a Kellogg Foundation study done a year or two ago that has found that by 2050, if we're able to eliminate some of the systemic barriers to having a more equitable and inclusive economy, it would add $8 trillion to our economy. And for an economy that's, $22 trillion right now, that is real dollars. That's not chump change. So it's critically important that we find pathways for those who are not able to be a part of the economy, that we get them into the economy. So that's finding folks in every community. This is whether it's urban, rural, suburban. It's making sure that we're creating pathways, that we're supporting businesses that will allow them to succeed, that we're bringing in the type of innovation that will allow us to continue to out-innovate the rest of the world. Because if you leave a significant chunk of your brain power on the sidelines, it means that you're losing out on opportunities to innovate as well. So I expect that as we make a more equitable industrial base and economy, including focusing on manufacturing, our economy and the nation will outperform the rest of the world.
can you talk a little bit about how we're going to need, the teamwork bottom up from public and private stakeholders of all kinds to really implement these kinds of interventions? For example, you were talking about the Chips and Science Act and this new Tech Hub program, right? Just to put together an application in a region requires a lot of public-private partnership, which is one of the forcing mechanisms that's positive about these bottom-up type interventions. Can you speak about the importance of that kind of teamwork at the local and regional level? Yeah.
Well, you are exactly right, Matt. We believe strongly that place-based programs like the Tech Hubs program that you mentioned, like the Build Back Better Regional Challenge effort, the Good Jobs Challenge that I talked about from the American Rescue Plan, that they are absolutely crucial to us being able to build the type of economy, to build the type of American competitiveness that will allow us to succeed. We need strong and focused regional coalitions that can drive the ball forward, that bring in those trusted stakeholders, those strong local partners. We are not a command economy like some of our international competitors. So, and none of us wants to be that command economy, but we do have to have better alignment in a sectoral basis. We have to have our regional stakeholders working together, because what we've seen over many decades is when you're disconnected, when policy and programs are not tied to the work that's being done at the local or regional level, we have outcomes that may be successful for some, but are not successful for everybody, and certainly are not going to help us drive the economy forward as we move. So we need to have our strong local and regional partners. They have to come together and not, as I said, have a race to the bottom, throwing all the incentives to try and attract jobs away from another part of the country, but to find ways that we're lifting up an ecosystem and the strengths of one region and then connecting them to the strengths and opportunities in other regions.
Don, you've had a lot of experiences in both the public and private sector. Can you talk about, one of the private sector, trends that are out there in terms of corporate and investment worlds to consider, ESG in improving their operations and outputs, and teaming with public and nonprofit partners to make progress for the American project?
Well, it's a great point. There are a number of different things that we're focused on as it relates to building up these opportunities for teaming. It's even before you even get to ESG. It's things like participating in communities of practice, like the one that you're operating, Matt. It's a key way that economic development practitioners can reach beyond their own geographic reach, to build relationships with their peers, and to help the communities to navigate the different challenges that they're facing. But as it relates specifically to ESG, we know that our competitiveness absolutely relies and depends on on how companies conduct their business, how they manage things like climate risk, what they do to attract and retain talent, and lift up talent that may be missing from the equation. So equity, as I said, is a key to unlocking the potential for our full economy, and paying close attention to things like ESG are absolutely essential for the United States, so that we can make sure that we're out innovating the rest of the world, that we're recognizing the risks and the opportunities to industry, providing a platform for U.S. private sector ESG practitioners to highlight the work that we're doing to a global audience, and then export these learnings, export the technologies, and of course, export our goods to the rest of the world who is, part of what we're trying to do is to also build a level playing field. So it's raising up standards, not just here in the United States, but raising standards around the world so that U.S. companies and U.S. workers are competitive with the rest of the world. And that's part of what we've been doing here at the Commerce Department. For instance, last year, we released a set of good jobs principles in partnership with the Department of Labor. And those principles outline a number of 8 really essential elements of a good job that includes recruitment, hiring, pay and benefits, job security and opportunities for career advancement. But it also gets to things like collective bargaining rights, working conditions, and that translates into the type of work that we're doing, as I've said, on standards of development across the world, so that, again, we're creating the same playing field, the level playing field, not just here in the U.S., but across the globe. And it helps us tackle things like human rights abuses, but makes us more competitive as a country.
We are delighted, and honored to have you as a guest of the podcast. My friend, we have a very long history, and about the American Manufacturing Communities Collaborative. It started way back in, from a previous initiative that has evolved over the years. And we represent, regions around the country of these stakeholders working together. Do you have any final words, speaking to that audience before we let you go?
Well, I just say that that the work that you all are doing is so critical to us and to, frankly, the nation and our long-term economic success. I think I speak for all of Commerce and the administration that I appreciate what you all have done to lead our American Rescue Plan Manufacturing Community of Practice, along with your partner, the Northeast Midwest Institute. Your charter is to grow these regional stakeholders across the country who can apply for and win and implement the types of programs that we have at EDA through a whole range of different efforts. And the Manufacturing Community of Practice is going to be supporting the programs like the Tech Hubs program, the Recompete pilot program that we're going to launch very soon. These are essential. They're complementary to the work that we're doing with the CHIPS program. It's going to allow us to catalyze long-term growth. It's going to allow us to build sustainable growth for things like our semiconductor industry here in the U.S., to build strong communities across the country that can, as the president says, I know you've heard this, that are dealt into the bargain, that have that opportunity that they might not have had in the past, and it's going to create an opportunity for us to not just build up economic success in every community across the country, but to make sure that we can drive the manufacturing sector forward and outcompete the rest of the world.
Don Graves, Deputy Secretary of Commerce for the United States, very much appreciate coming on the podcast. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Matt. So good to be with you.
So there you have it, Don Graves, letting us know how the federal government is helping to strengthen American manufacturing. Before we close out this episode, I want to invite you to sign up for AMCC's free weekly newsletter called the AMCC Update, where we share best practices from around the country. The sign-up form is on our homepage, where you can also check out the many tools and tactics, events, and activities that will help make this an American century. Our website is www.americanmcc.org. Our next podcast episode will release soon and feature one of our Mountain State leaders, so stay tuned for that, and please share this podcast with all your friends and colleagues. Until then, this is Matt Bogoshian signing off, thanking you for manufacturing an American century.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.